has been probably one of the rainiest years that they've had since I moved up here. Let me grab my T-Pass. I don't hardly use my T-Pass anymore, so it's hiding. We are in Quincy, Massachusetts. It is where I have lived since I moved here. They've changed a lot of things since whenever I first moved here. It's a train that I took every single day home. It took me probably about 45 minutes to an hour to commute all the way to the office. When I first moved here, I felt so cool because I was like, oh my God, I live in a city after, being back in a small town for a while. So I grew up in a super tiny town in Texas. It's a town that was so small that the population of cows drastically outweighs the population of people. So my great-grandparents actually started our family business that we still have. So we've had it for over 80 years now. That will never go out of business in Texas because it's heating and air conditioning. I started working full-time there when I was 13. It taught all of the grandkids because there was 14 of us. So we all started working at 13. My dad was a deacon, my great uncle was a pastor, my cousin was a missionary, my mom ran the children's department. And really kind of what I wanted to do was to figure out who I was outside of that expectation, which is why I started traveling more. I realized I loved people from other cultures. I ended up going to school to get my degree in cross-cultural studies, as well as marketing and Spanish. So I kind of wanted to figure out who I was outside of being a hill. So I chose a college that was 3 hours away and still managed to run into people who knew my family. Had a double parent household. My mom was a stay-at-home mom for a lot of my childhood. With 5 kids, managed to always make ends meet to still be able to give us opportunities to, do sports, do camp, do all of those things. I was the first person in my family to graduate with a college degree. And I remember going into this sheer moment of panic of oh my God, what am I gonna do now? And so I ended up accepting a position with a public speaking firm, and that moved me out to LA. And so my original goal was to move abroad, and I had already lived in Serbia and I'd moved back, and my mom liked to call it my Mamma Mia moment, where she just packs up. Oh yeah, this is us. If I move, what am I missing in the process? As a person who grew up very close to my family, a very hard thought to process. Instead of moving international, why don't I just move in the US? Ended up being the career I had before this. I got promoted to a management position, and they're like, wow, you can teach other people to do this. I'd settled for a pretty mediocre life. I had to actually be honest with what I wanted. I had no idea what that was. It's that deal breaker conversation you have to have with yourself. I wanted so much more. I've been working at this position, and they always sat there and said, to be successful, you have to have a career. Basically, my only shot at promotion was if someone died or retired, which neither of those are happening anytime soon. And if I wanted to look at my mom and my dad and be like, I want to take you on vacation, I could do that. I didn't want to have to look at my bank account to know that I could do that. Right as COVID was starting, I moved back to Texas and back to bartending and serving just to kind of figure out, what I wanted. And I had a friend who was wanting to move to Boston, and so she sat there and she was like, just look at jobs, just look at jobs, just look at jobs. And we looked it up, and I guess it put me in their database. And so they reached out and they were like, we'd love to offer you a first round interview. It was on Saturday that my promoting owner called. I was like, yeah, we'd love to offer you the position. And on Sunday, I called up Corley. I was like, yeah, I'll take the position. She was like, okay, what do you want your start date to be? And I was like, I can, give me a week and I'll be there. Sold my truck. I had never been to New England, let alone Massachusetts or Boston. So on the way, found a roommate, found an apartment, whole 9 yards. Got to town Thursday night. Friday morning, I walked in for my orientation. And to say they were shocked would be an understatement. I ended up expanding to Florida. I built teams, I lost teams. And, I feel like any person who really is going to do it doesn't understand quite how emotionally invested you have to be to do so. It's not a career for people who don't care about people. The hardest part is just to continue to go when you don't want to. I just didn't quit, right? It's that tenacity, it's the grit to keep going even when everyone tells you it's easier to not. The day that I told my parents, and I remember my dad being so proud because he called me, it was like, you did it. You have always said that you wanted to be in a position where you could lead people in the way you knew was correct. When I found out that my dad sold his antique truck to pay for my college, I'm not gonna lie, I cried. And I was like, I am going to put myself in a position to buy this truck back. And in case you're wondering, he has very expensive taste, so one of those, we're still working on it. I've never been a person who's motivated by money. I didn't grow up with it, so I know you don't need it to be happy. It does buy options. And it does buy plane tickets, and I really like going to places. I've been all over the US and all over the world, so I have friends everywhere that sometimes it's easier for me to pack up and go see them rather than, you know, kind of the other way around. Do you have the work ethic to work when nobody else wants to? Do you have the student mentality to say, I know I'm not the best, but if I aggressively seek information, I can become it? And, you know, the attitude that says, when you get kicked down and, you know, do you get back up? And, you know, there's the cliche sayings of like, it's not how many times you get knocked down, it's how many times you stand back up. You stand up faster, you stand up stronger, you stand up more prepared. I didn't naturally have that skill set. It was something that I had to nurture and something that I had to focus on. Have the best work ethic until you have the skill set, until you finish nurturing that skill set, that you're willing to outwork every other person to get there. Having the attitude that says, you know, you're willing to work hard to be the best. Ooh, we gotta catch this train. Go, 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 go. We're moving. Go, 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 go. Otherwise we're gonna have to wait. We're zooming, we're cruising, we're going. Perfect timing. Feel successful in your own capacity, and it feels great to sit there and be like, okay, I set my family up for success. Be able to look back in 3 generations and say, without that person, my family would not be where they're at. But changing it generations down the line. Say I helped that family create generational wealth. Like, that is cool. And unmatched feeling. Like, that's the ultimate goal that most people have. So if I can be in a position to help somebody do that, like, I'm going to.